Excuse me. Pardon me.
Hey, sit down.
Hey guys, Alec Kubas-Meyer here. This week I wanted to talk about A Serbian Film. Now, for those of you who don't know, A Serbian Film is a film by, I'm going to say this wrong, Serdan Spaciovic, and it's extremely disturbing. Like, really, really disturbing. It's the most disturbing movie I've ever seen in my life. And I've talked about disturbing movies previously, and in that last video, I said something that I thought was kind of interesting, and it was... I've actually seen A Serbian Film twice. I don't really recommend it, although I do think it's a fascinating movie and worth watching if you can stomach it. My hair was pretty bad that day, sorry about that. When I was watching and editing the video, I was like, that was kind of interesting that I said that. And the reason it's interesting is because about a year and a half ago, I wrote an article about a Serbian film for Flixist called Cinema Disturbia. The point was to create a new series where I just look at disturbing films, and I've given up on it. But in this particular article, I ended it by saying this. Clearly, my opinion has changed over the course of the last year and a half. I've seen more movies, I've gotten more context for what a Serbian film is, what it isn't, but it's just, in my mind, it has a different place than it used to. And it's possible that were I to see a Serbian film again, it would go back to, why would anyone want to watch this? But, looking back on it, I don't want to say I'm nostalgic for it, but it seems to me that it's a more significant film and a more worthwhile film than I gave it credit for. After you see a movie, you think about it. But over time, you can't see every movie a million times. Some people watch movies every year, keep themselves refreshed. But, there's so many new things coming out that it's kind of impossible to say that, every single movie you've seen in the past, you know how you felt about it. And people's opinions just change. People grow. Roger Ebert was willing to admit, that he misgraded things a few times. I'm sure I have done that on multiple occasions, that if I was to look back at old reviews I'd written, they don't accurately reflect where I am as, a critic and as, just a lover of movies. Things change. And when things change, it's kind of uncomfortable for me because, there is a record of how I felt at that time, and I don't want to act like what I said then I didn't believe. Because what I said then I did believe, but it doesn't reflect how I feel now. With a book, as books age, they visibly age. And you look at it and it's clear that this is old. On the internet, something from 2010 really looks the same as something from 2013. If they're on the same website and they've undergone the same things. You can kind of tell if the website's from 2002. But as long as there's been some back-end changes, it's kind of hard to say, is this 2010 Alec, is this 2013 Alec, without, looking at the tiny little date stamp. And from a film viewing perspective, those are two very different people. And if you agree with my opinions in 2013, you don't necessarily agree with my opinions in 2010. Because I don't necessarily agree with my opinions in 2010. That's weird to me. When I was younger and more naive, I felt like how I thought was just how it was. If I said that this was an amazing movie, it is an amazing movie. And if I say it's a terrible movie, then it's a terrible movie. But over time, I've realized, sometimes through rewatching movies, sometimes through talking with other people, that it's not so cut and dried. And I was pretty dumb to have ever thought that. I was a teenager, whatever. Teenagers are dumb. Since then, I've been trying to give movies multiple shots. There's the giant list I have of movies I want to see, and then there's not quite as big, but a very large list of films that I want to give another try. A good example would be Jean-Luc Godard's Breathless, which I did not like at all. But so many people like it, I feel like I should give it another shot. I may still hate it, but, seeing it a second time, giving it a fair shake, things change, context changes. When I saw that movie, I had just seen the 400 Blows, and the thing about the 400 Blows is that, as awesome as that movie is, Francois Truffaut used freeze frames, at least in part, because he wanted to be seen as an auteur, which is freaking obnoxious. And I think that's terrible and pretentious. And when I saw Breathless, the discontinuous editing struck me as another case of a director just using an effect in order to be seen as an auteur. Having seen other Godard movies since, that's not it. You know, that was sort of a one-off thing, which in and of itself made me appreciate the film more, but because I was so annoyed at the time, you know, it definitely colored it. I still won't necessarily like it, because I did find the discontinuous editing kind of annoying, but at the same time, you know, it deserves a fair shot. And so does a Serbian film. I mean, most films that are artistically significant do deserve a second shot. And for all of the terrible things you can say about a Serbian film, it is artistically fascinating. It's incredibly horrific, but it does some really interesting things. And in fact, how good it looks is a big part of why it's as disturbing as it is. You know, films like August Underground and those things, you know, they simulate home videos to go for an effect, and a Serbian film goes in exactly the opposite direction. You know, it looks as good as possible in order to really make you see everything, and it doesn't leave a whole lot up to the imagination. But I think you should see it if you can, if you dare. And not everyone does, and not everyone should. But 2 years ago, I would have never said that. And I think that's significant. I hope you enjoyed the video. Still waiting on getting that painting. I do one of these almost every week, so you should subscribe to our channel. And yeah, thanks guys.